We're
Okay.
rolling.
Yeah, I'm good.
Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. We kick off this loaded show, which is mainly going to be covering the races of August 2nd, as we do every year with our crossover segment talking about the Hambletonian. If you are a thoroughbred player and you're even remotely curious when it comes to standardbred racing, this is the card you should be paying attention to. We've got two guests to kick things off, Ray Cotolo and John Rallis. Ray, people know from all the work he does over here at In the Money. John is a key member of the broadcast team. Great to have him on. You'll be seeing much more from him. Ray, I want to start off with a question for you about this race day, this special race day. It is the 100th year of the Hambletonian. Is that as historically significant as it sounds? And are there any analogs in terms of thoroughbred racing or other historic sporting achievements, milestones that folks might be able to relate to?
I'm hard pressed to think anything reaching 100 doesn't really feel historical in some way. Maybe like your great grandfather, because he's telling the same story you've heard for the last 30 years, doesn't really feel that. But no, like think about it. This is a race that was first held in 1926. What was happening in 1926? Everyone's bank accounts crashed. They had to go line up for bread, and then they go to a horse race in. It wasn't in Goshen that year. I forget where it was the first year. I think it was in Syracuse, New York. And from there, the Hambletonian just slowly built like its own prestige, and it found these different tracks. It eventually landed in Goshen as the third host. It was even at Yonkers one year before it really gained its footing as the prime race, like the Kentucky Derby on the thoroughbred calendar when it landed over in DuQuoin. And I think the mid or late 40s, early 50s, and eventually come 1981, if I remember correctly, it goes to the Meadowlands, which was constructed right outside of New York City. Really nothing like it. Belmont may be somewhat close, especially with all the renovations and stuff they're doing now to make it like this palace of horse racing. That's what the Meadowlands was built to be, and it made it just a perfect host for the biggest race in the sport. And the thing that really stands with me, and Pete, I think you feel this too, there's sometimes the longer you get into the business, certain stakes, they just kind of wane in like excitement or things like that. But I'm yet to feel that with the Hambletonian. It somehow still holds that same enamor as when they're coming down to the starting gate for the Kentucky Derby. You know what's going to happen. It happens every single year, but for whatever reason, it just still feels so new to you. And that's really what's the most exciting about it.
It hits different. When racing is at its best, it hits a little different. And for thoroughbred players, I'm not sure if they're going to do a crossbreed wager this year. We'll have our eye out on that. We'll provide some special content somewhere if that does happen. But even if you're just betting on your own, this is a card you're going to want to pay attention to. John, give us a little bit of an overview of the depth and breadth of what players are going to be seeing on Saturday.
I don't know what the final wagering menu is going to look like just yet because they haven't finalized the programs, but I do know there's going to be 3 pick 4s on the Hambletonian card. I'm sure there's going to be a couple of pick 5 wagers. The Meadowlands card is always the Meadowlands wagering menu is always a really strong one. It's going to be even stronger on Hambletonian Day, and I mean Ray can attest to this. There's so much value across the board on Hambletonian Day. I mean, I think in the first 5 races we might have gotten 3 double-digit priced winners last year. So we had horses that didn't figure. A couple of them, or maybe a few, or all 3 of them, were Oka Svanstedt trainees. So I mean, that's a day where he kind of points towards hoping to have a big day. So I think that's something you want to keep on your radar because that's a day where he always typically has a big day, and he's got his horses primed and ready on that matinee card.
Let's talk about the full fields and the other supporting stakes that are going to be happening. What are you expecting, John, in terms of in terms of what the overall complexion is going to be?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a. Are you referring to the Hambletonian or the card?
The whole card. The whole card.
Oh, I think there's some. Listen, we've got some short fields.
Only some, though. I think we should point out.
Sorry.
There's only some. Like there are other races. Yeah, we can't even fit them all on the gate.
No. Just the first few. There are short fields, but they're competitive fields. That's the thing, right? I think there's still some value. I think there's some susceptible favorites, and there's horses really that I think are knocking on the door for some big efforts. I think there's some prohibitive favorites that they look good on paper, and I think they've got every opportunity to either double up or triple up. But I do think that there's so much value all throughout the card. It's what makes the racing great. We see so much action on Hambletonian Day. And I think that's what results in favorites. I think it's a game that's speed favoring, typically being on the front end. but we're going to see some quick miles given the fact that it's during the day. And I think that's going to result in some closures, maybe picking up some pieces, some big pieces, I'd say. So, yeah, I don't think the short field's going to deter me, or I don't think it should deter the wagering public early on. I think that there are some really, really competitive fields, and it's going to, provide some great wagering opportunities as well.
Terrific. Ray, we should get into this too. We're going to have more coverage across the network. Obviously, you guys are both going to be providing coverage as we get closer to the event. What is the best way for people who are looking to dive deep down the rabbit hole to learn much more about the Hambletonian Day racing?
Well, luckily for everyone watching on In the Money Media, we have our live roundtable on Thursday night at 8 p.m. And we're going to be looking at all of the major races with some real prominent thinkers, not just gamblers, but mind magicians on the show. Of course, Mikey P, who does a lot of stuff with the thoroughbreds, will be there as well. I'm putting him purposefully outside of the mind magicians, but we're going to be going full ham in talking about these races, trying to break down, how they could go, but more importantly, how can we make money on them? Because the same way in thoroughbreds, you don't always want to just play what's expected. You're trying to play what's being given to you. And harness does work in that same way. And I really do feel that most flat players, if they can align their brains that way, they could find some fun to have on Hambletonian Day.
Love it. We'll make sure folks check that out on the In the Money Media Network YouTube channel. Please subscribe while you're over there, and leave comments too, especially if you're a standardbred player. We want your tips as well on this Hambo card. On this show, we're going to do the big race, and then I'm going to give you guys an opportunity for a spot play somewhere. John, we'll start with you. Who's going to win this year's Hambletonian?
You know what? Maybe it's a little bit of a Canadian bias, but I think I'm going to side with the Motocon Legacy in this spot. But I think it's such a wide open Hambo. I think even Ray can attest to it. It's funny because I think that there's so many horses that are pointed towards this particular race. And I wanted to lean Maryland. I like the fact that Dexter stuck with him. He's never won a race so far this year, but this is a horse that I think has gotten better with each and every start. But Motocon Legacy, I mean, we're talking about a horse who hasn't lost a race so far in his sophomore campaign. And I got a chance to speak with Louis Waugh after he won his elimination, and he spoke on the hopples feeling a little bit tighter in that elimination. So they didn't change the length on the hopples whatsoever. He did add a new bike in that elimination win, but he said it might have been as a result of maybe the new surface and the bike as well playing a role, and maybe him feeling a little bit tighter in terms of his gait and his strides. They're going to try and loosen him up for that final. Luke Blais has won this race before. He gets horses primed and ready for big stakes events. So he's a horse, again, that I think despite his undefeated record in 2025, I think that he's going to be a little bit of a sleeper player. Given that his elimination performance, I think even Ray can attest to this, that I don't think that it was anything maybe to rave about. It was a narrow victory, but this is a horse who fended off Maryland at the Zwag at Vernon. And I think we're going to expect potentially some shoeing changes that might make him a little bit quicker. I know that's going to be a common theme with some other rivals in this race, but a Motocon Legacy, he seems to have matured so much as a sophomore trotting colt. He was a horse that was a little bit erratic. I mean, I spoke to Louis and he said, I didn't really know what to do with him in post parade. There was times where I thought, either he was too hot and I had to be too quiet, or there was times that he was too quiet. So there was no in between or no perfect balance for him. It was, one of the two extremes for him. So this year he's been perfect, both record and both his mannerisms. And I think he's primed for a big effort here, and he draws well to provide some Hambletonian glory.
It's a compelling case, and it's just fun for the thoroughbred players listening. Some of the, we have our equipment changes of our own, but you guys in the standardbred world take it to a whole new level. And again, those are some of the deeper down the rabbit hole things that'll be all over the live stream. We can get much deeper into that. And of course, it's a live stream. You can interact as well. Make sure you check that out if you're interested. Ray, how about you? Who's going to win the big one?
Well, my tinfoil is currently in the kitchen, so just allow me to figuratively wear that cap. Maryland was the big horse at 2, and it was a surprise. But as the season went on and he went to become the richest, he ended up being the money winner last year, which a 2-year-old trotter hasn't done since the 1950s. Granted, that was aided by new $1 million race that's been added a few years ago, but nonetheless, he stamped himself as the early favorite, and on top of that, really showed all of the characteristics that you would want in a Hambletonian horse. Now, not ideal for him to be coming into this race without a win, but you can also see in every single start that he's had, the incremental improvements to try and get his eye on the race that matters. And when you think about it too, this is a horse who made $1.2 million at 2. If he wins the Hambletonian, like, he's already a stallion, first and foremost. But a Hambletonian win really shoots his value into the stratosphere. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the horse is going to win, but he's coming in off of a really solid elimination finish, was second, trying to outsprint a game sprinting horse for Ox Fenstead to the inside. And the other key to this is his main stablemate in this race is a huge speed horse getting speed hands from Yannick Gingras. The draw isn't necessarily ideal for him to just try and go down the road. He has post 2 with Super Chapter, a horse who I think would probably be better suited from an outside draw. But nonetheless, this looks like a scenario where Super Chapter is going to be bringing all of the heat, and then Dexter Dunn is going to be sitting off of it, waiting to dine on Hambletonian platters from maybe a second over trip or something like that. And that's how the Hamble worked out last year. Carl was the big horse. He was the storied one. He was the one who was anointed the winner before the race even went, and he proved himself the best. Maryland, this just seems like that type of situation where you may get a good price on him because he hasn't won yet this year. But if he is the horse that we all think he is, he should win on this day. It just, everything feels like it is aligning in his favor, and it's just up to Dexter Dunn to find that right path.
A lot of confidence there. The boys going head to head in the big one. Just have a couple minutes left, guys, and I do want to get a spot play from you. You could sort of default to a pick in the Oaks if you don't have one that you're super excited about, yapping about. But Ray, we'll start by throwing the ball back in your court just as you take a sip. Sorry about that. But curious to know where some of your dollars may be heading on this Hambo undercard.
Well, I will say, for a more solid opinion from me, definitely tune in to the live roundtable. The Hambo, I have I have extensive looks at the Oaks somewhat. The rest of the card, that's my homework here today.
Gotcha.
To get ahead for the roundtable tomorrow.
Give
but
us your Oaks idea then.
I will say right now in the Oaks, first off, most wide open Oaks I've seen in years. The best horse in the division isn't even there. A lot of the real stars of the division struggled in the eliminations, didn't make the final. So this one's just ripe for the taking. And I don't know how much value this is going to be necessarily because she won an elimination, but really Miss Belmar stood out among all of the horses who have qualified for the final. And she took a really rough step in the stretch where she should have broke stride and been taken out of it completely. But she showed a large amount of maturity in my mind to recollect herself and re-engage when she had challengers flanking her down to the finish. So as long as she can get some smooth sailing, she gets an inside draw, can try and find a nice trip in, and she's just coming into the race in sharp form. Maybe, as the second or third choice provides some value, but that's also contingent on a horse like Delaney Hanover not taking another step forward because she was really good closing in her elimination. So Miss Belmar for me right now, preliminarily, is a good spot play in the Oaks.
Yeah, you'll have your final answer on the live stream later. John, how about you? A thought on the Oaks or one of the races on the undercard?
I agree with Ray on the Oaks, though, but I think that Miss Belmar, there's a good chance that she's going to go off as the favorite. You heard Andy McCarthy kind of say that he kind of just didn't keep her to task. I think he thought he was likely a winner and maybe just kind of kept her attention, didn't keep her attention enough, and that's why she put in that rough step. She's put in she's only made a miscue once through her young career, and we have to expect that Noel Daly's going to likely pull the shoes in that Oaks, and I think that's going to add another dimension and another element of speed to her. So she got picked off by Lady Landia, who was favored in her elim in the Breeders' Crown last year as a 2-year-old. She's not in the Hambletonian Oaks, so I think that she's going to have every opportunity to win this marquee event. But I will say a filly who I thought should have likely been in the Oaks is Lasting Dream. She's going to be my spot play on the card. She's going to kick off Hambletonian card. She got as tough of a trip as you could ask for. Louis Wild left out of there. He was on the lead early on. And Sound Judgment, a 44-1 shot, elected to pull the pocket and take matters into her own hands with Kevin Oscarson. Louis Wild had a chance to maybe pull first over and kind of, not get stuck in. He elected to take a chance and hope that there was going to be a seam late in the mile. There was no seam. And that cost him a spot in the final. So I think he's going to kick off the card with a win. I know Whatabid's in the race. I'm hoping she can take a lot of play in that spot. I'm hoping that the Luke Blade trainee can kick off the card the right way and also win the big one as well. But Lasting Dream, I thought she was so good in that Hambletonian Oaks elim. She deserved a lot better. I'm hoping she can kick things off with a victory, and one that I'm going to single in any multi that kicks off the card.
For what it's worth, I endorse that too. I like that Philly also.
So you're Oppo in the big one, but in lockstep in the opener and the Oaks, and just another nugget for thoroughbred players. I mean, a lot of the thoroughbred trip handicapping, it comes from folks who crossed over from harness, and you can hear as John talks about it, very, very similar ideas of being able to how to look at these results, but then figure out how they were earned. And when you have one that had a tricky trip like that, coming back in more favorable circumstances definitely looks like one I will be following you boys in on. Guys, we are out of time. Thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel.